Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for bronze when we are here for more action here tonight. Then, and if you can't tell, I'm already ill. So, a good start to the season. Then, bronze season 9 is kicking off very shortly indeed. But we will go through the grid as it stands. And we have got the Red Bull team, sorry, of Real Ashton Army and Dynamo Dan. Then, of course, Dynamo Dan switching from the Alpine team and Real Ashton from the Williams last season. Then Casey Jennington and Dukanko, or Duncan Dave, whichever one you want to call him, is in the in the Ferrari. Goodness me, they're in the red car. You Mad Bro then and IRS LB then in the Mercedes then for George Russell and Kimi Antonelli in the next couple of months. Astra John then is demoted down, unfortunately, then from Silver. He has got himself into the McLaren then, along with Ginner then. Unfortunately, Ginner then, the only man not turning up tonight then in the McLaren. He's on a holiday tonight, or today, I should say then. So hopefully we'll be back for second round of the season as we go into Kick Sauer then, Smithy Almighty then, and Luke then, the constructors' favourites potentially here. We'll have to wait and see then how they're going to fare then in Australia then in just a few moments' time. The timer ticking down now to start off the qualifying. Dynamo Dan then in the not Dynamo Dan, Dan in the Alpine then for staying in the Alpine, of course. P3 in the championship last season. Can he go one higher? Can he go two higher than this season for season 9? Then Vintage then is partnering him in the Alpine machine. Then Hungry Styles in the Haas then alongside Mr. Elite, who's jumped down from Silver as well. Then into the Haas they go. Then Jake the Slayer and Ginger Age. I think Jake the Slayer's having a few technical difficulties, which is why we're starting late. Then Serious Mushroom and Winnie then in the Aston Martin, another formidable team then, and rounded off the grid then last but not least is Corey Brennan and Rocket Lee in the Williams then. Good stuff indeed. Right then, I think I can take you over to qualify live then. Here we are then in Australia then. We are in Melbourne and ready to get cracking then for the first round of Bronze Season 9 then here in Australia as well then. Fantastic stuff indeed. We've got everyone sorted. I think there we go. I think, yes, we have got ourselves loaded in. Then we can get ourselves the telemetry up and running as well. And there we go, cracking on then with qualifying. As good luck, everyone, from Vintage as well. Then, of course, Vintage in the comment section. Then he's back in the back on the grid, then back in the Alpine, and looking to see what we can do then as we go again. Then says R as well in the comment section. Fantastic. Right then, only 19 drivers in, unfortunately, for Ginger Age, and he's already scared off his teammate then of Jake the Slayer, who either can't be bothered to get in the session or can't get in the session, whichever one it is. Kian Kebab has said hello as well then. Good stuff indeed. Of course, Kian then with the champion then of Bronze Season 8 then the previous season, and now he is looking to try and take on the Silver Beast as well. Then of course got himself a podium last night then, Kian in the Red Bull then. Good stuff indeed. A good start to his season indeed as well then. Vintage has gifted a membership to German then, so that's good stuff indeed then to both drivers. Oh God, I think I'm going to be coughing a lot then this stream, unfortunately. And what a way to open up the season then, as Real Ashton then the first man out on circuit, then in the Red Bull, then testing his Red Bull, then of course then this is his first outing then for the Red Bull team after of course competing in the Williams all of last season as well. Then a few rule keeping changes then for Bronze as well. Then the point system has changed as well. Then nothing else has changed, to be fair, so not too many rule keeping events, that is. A few rule keeping events then, or a few point scoring events I should say then, because the point system has changed for Bronze Season 9, and only for Bronze Season 9. The remaining divisions didn't stay the same, but Bronze then scores from the first position then all the way down to P15, and I believe it's normal scoring then all the way down to P5, I think it is. So it's 11 points, sorry, for P5, then all the way down to P15, which is 1 point at the very end of that field. Then unfortunately 5 drivers will miss out then, or currently 4, as unfortunately with Jake the Slayer, he can't get himself in the lobby then, which is fantastic stuff indeed. Father Anthony wishes Bronze drivers good luck then, and that's Stephen, of course, then, who had a fantastic season in the Aston Martin, then jumping in then halfway through. And we've also got Kian then, my favourite race of the week then, says Kian as well then, of course the Bronze champion then, of course, then watching on then how his counterparts are going to fare then in their Season 9. And right then, good stuff. We are cracking on then. Real Ashton then to start us off in qualifying here as we take to the track. Then of course it's all new then, well, majority of it's all new for most of the drivers then. I think Dan is the only man who is, and Styles, sorry, in the Haas. They are the only two, I think, that are in the same car as they were in Season 8 then, the previous season, of course, then before Christmas. That was a long time ago, it feels like, as well now. So there we go then. I'm a fan of Rocket Lee then, Sean and Luke, says Kian as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Unfortunately, if if you're a fan of Sean, then you might be let down a bit, unfortunately, which is a big shame then. But there we are. Here comes Real Ashton, then down the back straight, which is not a back straight really. It is a few corners then with DRS available then around these corners, and into Sector 3, then through the chicane we go then for Real Ashton, and of course he's done some testing, winter testing then for the Red Bull driver now, and let's see what he can do then. Can he repeat the feat then? Can he get him some points on the board then this time here in the opening round of the season? Then we'll find out very shortly then. Stephen A says the ex-teammate then Luke for championship winner then says that is the candidate then for your championship then. Of course 16 rounds of this season alongside gold, silver as well. They will be coming for 16 rounds. And of course the mystery Grand Prix round 4, we've got Real Ashton then with an 18.5, sorry, so then put himself the first man on the field, up the field I should say, thank goodness me. And yeah, like I said, the first man on the timing sheet as it stands. And Liam unfortunately is not unfortunately he's reserving, but unfortunately has invalidated his time coming back into the pit lane then in the McLaren. And I think he's the only reserve on the field then, apart from the empty Racing Bull seat, which is Jake the Slayer's car then. I think he's having some issues trying to get himself in the lobby. 17.3 for Mr. 8, then puts himself P1 then for the time being. Here comes Casey Jennett then. I think he's just about to start off on that. Then Vintage has done an 18.7, puts himself P4, and then he's been displaced down, I should say, by Casey, who's done an 18.5 then in the Ferrari. And oh goodness me, that back end stepping out very keenly indeed then through the first chicane then. Rocket Lee starting off his lap then, his first lap in the Williams, and Dynamo down the same then for the Ripple. Then where is you Mad Bro? Then you Mad Bro coming up to the line. Then let's see what he can do. And it's going to be a 19. Oh dear, where's that? 19.5 then. Maybe he is starting off a lap now. Yeah, he is starting off a lap now because he's burned quite a lot of the RS then through towards the first turn, although he seems to have backed off there now, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Kamara Racer then, €5 from Kamara Racer. Hello boss, get well soon. And I will need it, I think, especially by next week, because I think this is going to be a fantastic Grand Prix indeed, but I'm not sure my voice is going to handle it as well as the racers will handle it then, of course, in the next 13 minutes or so. Where is Jinner then, says Kian. He's on holiday, says Kamara Racer. Yes, he's, I don't know where he is to be fair, but he's missing the first race with his holiday then, so there we go. Rocket Lee, they're heading through into Sector 3, then diving down into the next right-hander, then making sure you get that curve right then, because it can bounce you all over the place, and if you get it wrong. But now into the last few corners then for Williams, and let's see what he can do then into the penultimate corner now for the Rocket Lee. Then let's see where Rocket Lee is going to rocket up to then in the order. Then he's currently P6, of course. There's only 5 drivers who set a time on the board. Dynamo Dan's done a 17.2. Here comes Rocket Lee. Oh my god, it's a 16.4 for Rocket Lee. That's fantastic. And it made me choke. But brilliant stuff indeed then from Rocket Lee then in the Williams. That is incredible stuff indeed then. And looking quite comfortable indeed at the moment as well. On pole position then, Dynamo Dan on the front row then, P2 with a 17.2 as it stands as well then. Red Bull looking pretty strong then, P2 and P4 as it stands as well. Umabra coming back into the pit lane then. My god, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to survive this race, to be fair, with my voice, but we'll try again then. I might have to mute every now and then and get a sip of my drink then, but there we go. Then Corey Brennan is coming through. Then where is Styles? Sorry, goodness me. Styles then is in the Haas, and of course he's coming through into Sector 2. Now there's a car trying to get out of the way there. Bit of an unconventional parking spot then. And Eben has said Dan for the win as well. And Dan is, well, he's not out on track just yet. But of course has done a pretty good job then in the previous season. And we'll see if he can repeat the feat then in the Alpine once again then for Dan. Corey Brennan then new to a full-time seat. Well, not new to a full-time seat. I think he had a full-time seat very, very briefly at the very end of last season. But of course stepped in as reserve. Oh my god. Stepped in as a reserve last season, then P4 for Corey Brennan, then Williams now P1 and P4 as it stands. That's formidable, goodness me. That's formidable stuff indeed then. And Hungry Styles onto the front row with a 17.0. That's brilliant from Hungry Styles. We'll get him going then. He's got a new wheelbase, I think, or a new wheel itself. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but whatever it is, seems to be working tonight then. He's currently on the front row of the grid then, albeit he is almost 0.6 of a second away from pole sitter Rocket Lee, who's back in the pit lane now. But Hungry Styles then has cemented his place then on the front row of the field as it stands then. Currently P2. Serious Mushroom is retired then. He is done and dusted already then. What a surprise. Never mind then, we'll ignore that then, because, well, what was new? There we go then, here comes Duncan Dave then into the next right-hander, then into Sector 3, then Duncan Dave, of course, back returning, then he was in the McLaren last season, he's now in the red Ferrari, then heading into the final few quarters then. Oh, and there's a Mercedes then who's had a bit of an issue then trying to get himself, what is going on there for that Mercedes? That is horrific stuff indeed. Goodness me. And that's on a qualifying lap, or not even a qualifying lap, I don't think then, but there we go. Then here comes Duncan Dave, P5 then for the Ferrari, then 17.7, then puts himself into the top echelons then of the points paying positions. That is fantastic stuff indeed. Then good stuff so far then. Evening earlobe, Ginger about to shock the world, says Mushroom. Then my goodness me, I think he's going to shock the world then if he can get himself a point this race. But to be fair, I'm sure he can try and do it. We'll never know. We never know. We'll have to find out then. Astro John then is of course new to bronze then. He is of course jumping down from silver then into bronze then after only a few full-time appearances last season then, but I think he's going to be very well matched in bronze then, and I think he's going to be very well matched indeed for getting some big points here in the McLaren team as well, then heading into the final few corners then of the lap. And let's see what it's going to be then for Astro John then on his first outing for McLaren here tonight then in bronze, season 9 up to the line then for the McLaren. Then what's it going to be then? It's P4 then for Astro John, then P4 sorry, 17.3, and just ahead of Mr. Elite is P5 at the moment then. Fantastic stuff indeed. Smithy Almighty then up into P6 then with a 17.4, and my goodness me. Come on, Ginger, then. Want to see something for the money, says Kamara Racer, then. Right, then. Ginger Rage is still stuck in the pit lane, so maybe he's having a bit of a bathroom break. I'm not quite sure. Liam is staying at P9, then. Oh, dear, he's had a bit of a slide around that corner. Then you don't want to get your inside right tyres then on that curve, do you? Because it does tend to get that car rotating pretty nicely indeed, albeit a bit too much indeed. There we go, then. Casey Janet coming back into the pit lane as well. I think there's a few outlaps there as well, then, but I think majority coming back into the pits now, and or starting off their first or their out laps, I should say. Dynamo Dan, I think, is on a flying lap then heading into Sector 2. Then let's see what he's doing then. Unfortunately not improving then in Sector 1 then, which is unfortunate for the Red Bull car then, heading around this new back straight, which is definitely not straight. Oh my God. And now here we go then, heading into the next chicane then, or the chicane I should say, the famous chicane of this circuit, and negotiating it very nicely then, flicking it left, flicking it right, then heading down towards Sector 3 and finishing off the lap very soon as well then. I forgot to save Slayer setup, says Ginger Ray. It's all started pretty well then for Ginger Rage then this season as well then, as here comes Dynamo down then. Can he improve then by 0.2 of a second then to knock Stars off the front row then, or can he improve by 0.8 of a second to knock Rocket Lee off pole position then? But here he comes then up to the line then for Dynamo down. What's it going to be? It's a 16.8, puts himself P2 and closes the gap then to Rocket Lee down to 0.4 of a second. Then it was over 0.6 of a second, wasn't it, just about then, but it's now down to 4. I think Rocket Lee's still pretty comfortable then in the Williams car for the time being, that is, but Dynamo down then looking pretty strong here. Of course, a former runner-up then in bronze then. I think it was season 6 or season 5 then, a few seasons ago now, but my memory is getting very foggy indeed. 50-50 wings, says Kamara Racer. Then I wouldn't listen to that, Sean, if you know what's good for you then. Cole Palmer has scored then. Good stuff indeed. I have no idea Chelsea will play. And then can I get a new invite, says Jake the Slayer. Let's send him an invite, shall we? Where is Jake the Slayer then? And we will see if we can get him into the lobby. There he is then. We'll send him an invitation and then hopefully he can jump in. Mr. Reed then, no, he's not. He's unfortunately abandoned his time then. I think he's invalidated his time. Then Corey Brennan then is on a time then. He's going into the chicane again then, negotiating this technical part then of the circuit then, which has caught many a driver out then in many a season, in many a race around Australia then, whichever format of the track. And thankfully for Corey Brennan then, through that nice and easy then. Good stuff indeed. So there we are then, heading into the last couple of corners then for Corey Brennan. Then can he match his teammate? Can he get himself into the top echelons then of the top 10? Then heading through the final corner, then power to the foot to the floor, power to the metal then, or metal to the whatever it is, and up to the line then. P6 then for Corey. Then a 17.0 does improve by almost 0.7 of a second on his previous time. Then that's pretty good improvement then indeed. But he is still 0.6 away then from pole position. Then Rocket Lee then looking formidable. Then Dan, I completely missed it, but Dan, fantastic from Dan. Then he's got himself into P2, then displaces Dynamo down, his former teammate last season, then down to P3. But that is looking pretty good then from Dan. Then he is only a tenth and a half, well, yes, about a tenth and a half away then from pole position. Then, but Rocket Lee still in the pit lane, looking very comfortable indeed. Then he doesn't need to come out once again. Then Luke, has improved to P4 with a 16.9 then. So the top four now into the 16s here. It's getting tight indeed. As I think Corey then coming back into the pit lane now. Vintage then is looking to get himself another lap time on the board. Then heading into sector 2 momentarily. Then where is IRS? Then IRS heading down into sector 3. We'll come back to him. Then when he's invalidated this time, then Ginger Rage is on circuit. Says watch out. Then goodness me. Then anyone on track could be in peril. Then as IRS they're coming through the last couple of corners. Then we'll see what he can do then to improve on a 19.2. Can he? We will find out now. Now the party begins then, says Kamara Racer, and here comes IRS then up to the line. Then IRS as Real Ashton's retired in the pit lane. Then IRS then P13 with an 18.0, then displaces his teammate down to P14 then by 2 tenths of a second. Then Umapro P14 for the time being. Then Vintage then I think is coming through into this part of the lap. Then where is Ginger Rage? Then Ginger Rage on his first qualifying lap here in bronze is up into P15. Then an 18.4 then for Ginger Rage. Then fantastic stuff indeed for the Racing Bull driver. Then what a fantastic result that is in his first qualifying outing. Then that pink helmet clashing horribly with the Racing Bull colours and all over the circuit once again then for Ginger Rage. Thank goodness me, that is going to be very treacherous indeed for any driver around or nearby him in the race, if that's going to be how he's going to be driving in the actual Grand Prix as well. Then goodness me, that is terrifying. Vintage up into P11 then, fantastic stuff indeed. Then a 17.8 then just outside the top 10 then for Vintage as it stands in the Alpine. Then of course switching from the Red Bull last season then into the Alpine this season, and the roles reversed then of course for Dynamo down, then he's currently P3, then he'll switch from the Alpine then into the Red Bulls then. So roles reversed then, Christian Horner doing a switcheroo then with the what was it, Luke, not Luke, what's his name, something Mielkes or something like that, isn't it, for Alpine? Goodness me, I have no idea what my team bosses are called. Right then, my team boss then is not Ginger Race, then he's down to P16 then, and he's coming back to the pit lane I think here as well then, but very shakily indeed, because it looks like that car is all over the place. He did say he forgot his set, or didn't forget his setup, he forgot to save his setup. Then there's IRS then almost getting disqualified. I think that Alpine coming through, that Alpine is Vintage coming back into the pit lane anyway, so I doesn't need to worry too much. But maybe IRS has run out of fuel then. Yes, that red light is flashing then on the center console on the MFD then for the IRS, not for the IRS then, for the Mercedes driver of IRS LB. We'll call him LB because that makes it less tax fraudy. But there we go then. I forgot to save the setup then, so that's good stuff indeed then. Should have had me as a teammate then. Why are you complaining then? Breaking the sound barrier, says Ginger Rage then. My goodness me, then that is going to be treacherous stuff indeed. He's going to be very quick indeed in this race then. If he's breaking the sound barrier and qualifying, then Vintage has retired, then he's going to be no better than P11 in this qualifying in the first qualifying session then of the season. Quick drink then. Here comes Rocket Lee then. Can he improve on a 16.4? Up to the line then for Rocket Lee. He has improved on a 16.4. It's a 16.293, and that is almost 3 tenths of a second. Winnie has retired as well then. What's happened to Winnie? I wasn't aware that Winnie had an issue then, but it seems like Winnie has both Aston Martins and have got problems then. Oh dear, that's horrible stuff indeed then for them. But we will wait and see then if they can turn it around then in the Grand Prix then. But unfortunately that is well, bad news then for Aston Martin then, who of course need to get some points on the board then after a difficult race. I can't remember what they did until last night. Oh, of course they won the Grand Prix with R2 beaten, so never mind, ignore what I'm saying. So that's good stuff. Where is DeCanco then? DeCanco starting off another lap now then. Casey is still in the pit lane. There's quite a few gaggles of cars coming out of the pit lane now to start off their out laps here, and my goodness me, then that is chaos then as well. Hungry Styles, I'm not sure if he's finished off a lap there or he's I think he's just trying to get out of the way then of that Ferrari coming through. That's DeCanco, and DeCanco then, oh dear, that back end stepping out at turn 3, then that is very, very difficult to try and regain control then. Will have lost him a few tenths of a second then as well, trying to get that car pointed in the right direction as well here. Heading into sector 2, then he is unfortunately half a second down on his previous time then. Maybe he's got enough time and fuel then to go back round again, then harvest some energy then on this lap then and try for another effort then on the next lap. We will find out. Astrotron is back at it again. I think I think he's where is he? P7 at the moment. Maybe not. Then we'll have to come back to him. Then Mr. Elite is about to start off another flying lap as well. Where is Luke? Then Luke coming through the last couple of corners. There's 30 seconds left of the session. Then before they need to before they get that checker flag fluttering once again. Then we'll fight for the first time this qualifying session. Then of course, but the first time of this season, I should say, in qualifying. Then we've got 29 laps of action to unfold. Then as we've had someone jump up the order. Then I think it was you, Mabro. Then up into P14 and 18 or 014. Then the same time as Liam, Rocket Lee has what's Rocket Lee done? Rocket Lee has retired. Then he is in the pits, I think. Then so he is done and dusted. Then Dan just about starting off a time. Then just in time, I should say. Then and Casey unfortunately didn't make it to the line. Then unfortunately for the Ferrari. Then that's him done and dusted in qualifying as well. Then P17 for him. And what's going on here? We've got a lobby restart after qualifying then, so that's going to be good stuff indeed. So all the drivers need to remember their setups then. Oh, that's going to be great news for Ginger Rage then. But, yeah, we need to remember our setups then as a lobby restart after qualifying. That's fantastic stuff indeed then, isn't it? Brilliant. All right then, so yes, IRS then, and we've got a qualifying shootout still to go then, of course, but we'll have to come back to that. Then where is Corey? Then Corey stays P6 for the time being as he goes through. Then where is the Haas then of Mr. Elite? Then Mr. Elite then coming up to the line. Then what can he do here tonight? And the first qualifying for Mr. Elite, then he stays P9. It's a 17.4 then for the Haas driver then. Good stuff indeed. Then Luke is coming up to the line. Then Luke coming up to the line then for P2. Then P2 of 16.496 then is very close indeed. Then almost as close as that as Vintage has left the session already then, so Vintage very much ahead of time. Here comes Dynamo Dan, then Dynamo Dan looking to improve then, but he stays P4 then. Dan rounding the final corner, then Ginger Rage is retired, then he's P16 at best. Then here comes Dan heading up to the line, then Dan's on pole position then for the Australian Grand Prix. Then that is fantastic. So we need from the P3 man then in the drivers last season, then he has taken it away from Rocket Lee then at the last split second then, and it is only a split second as well. Then that is 19 thousandths of a second then separating P1 and P2 here for Australia in the opening round of the season. Fantastic stuff indeed then, and what a qualifying lap indeed for Dan and his pole position then for the Alpine man on the first round of the season. Then I think he did the same last season as well in Bahrain, of course, which a much longer season that was. But Dan has got it then. Dan on pole position then for the Australian Grand Prix. We're going to have a quick break then, which is great for my voice. We'll have to talk about what we had for dinner as well. Similar sort of thing as what I used to do in Silver then when we had a break. We used to chat about what we had for dinner then. So there we go. But we'll get back to that then. Dan on pole position, then hopefully we'll run through the classification then very shortly then. But we will have a lobby restart then before the race gets underway then. But there we are then. Dan on pole position then for the Alpine team then by 19 thousandths of a second then to Rocket Lee in the Williams. Then a great front row, very quick front row indeed. Then Luke and Dynamo Dan, no slouches as well. Then P3 and P4 then in the Kick, Sauber and Red Bull respectively. Then Hungry Styles in P5, fantastic from Hungry Styles. Then really improved then with that new wheelbase. Then Corey Brennan P6, then Astrotron P7, Smithy Almighty P8, then Mr. Elite P9 then, and Dukanko rounds off the top 10. Then Vintage P11, then Ashton Army then P12, IRS P13, Liam P14, you Mad Bro P15, Ginger Age P16, Casey P17, Winnie and Mushroom. God, Winnie and Mushroom round off the grid then, and we will have to leave the session, everybody, and get ourselves into the new session as well then. So bear with us for 1 second. Then, if you want to tell us what you had for dinner, that would be fantastic stuff indeed. In the meantime, I'm going to just quit to main menu, and we will get out of here. But there we are then. Look at Ginge go then, breaking the sound barrier then, will be fine tactics. Right then, invalidity 2 times his styles as well. Then my wheel felt heavy in my first try. It has to restart the pace. Good stuff indeed. Make a restart short before race also, says Kamara Racer indeed. Right then, here we are then. I think we've already got the lobby up and running there, so fantastic stuff. We can jump ourselves straight back in, and I'm not quite sure if what we're doing the restart for, to be fair, but we'll find out, I think, very shortly. there we are. We're in. So that's that then. Good stuff indeed. And we can crack on then. I think hopefully we can get ourselves everybody into the lobby quickly enough indeed as well. Lasagna then for IRS then for dinner. Then that is a treat and a half then. I would have loved to have joined you for a lasagna then. But yeah, there we go. There's my personal personal thoughts then of my drivers, well, the drivers, what they've had for dinner as well then. But lasagna sounds fantastic. Then I would love a nice lasagna then. Chicky soup thingy then for Serious Mushroom as well. Good stuff indeed. Of course, nice chicky soup thingy is always very welcome. There we are then. So yeah, here we are then getting ourselves into the lobby once again then. Like I said, I'm not quite sure what's happened then with the previous lobby then, but we are restarting for a reason or two, and hopefully we can get ourselves underway quickly enough then. But yes, we are cracking on then. Chicky soup thingy then for chicky soup. Oh goodness me, chicky soup. I can't even say it. Chicky soup thingy for mushroom then. Getting down then says Eben as well. Then pole position then, well done. Lasagna then for IRS then sounds fantastic stuff indeed, and really well done indeed then for all drivers then who've had a fantastic dinner then before they got themselves into this qualifier first, and now of course into the Grand Prix in just a moment's time then. So we will crack on then. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll run through the classification, of course. Then, well, not the classification. Sorry, the qualifier, sorry, not the qualifying either. The grid, I should say. Then, my goodness me, for the start of this this bronze season 9, I think it is. Goodness me, but there we are. Then, no, I can't do it because there it is. Now it's on the screen. So there we are. Then we'll start us off. We're just waiting for the drivers to get themselves into the lobby. Then before we crack on, then with the Grand Prix itself. Then, but a fantastic qualifying then from Dan in the Alpine. Then pole position for him. Then Williams then of Rocket Lee then on the front row as well. P2 for him. We haven't got Jake the Slayer in the lobby still, so that's going to be fantastic. Setups then, says Mushroom as well. Then remember your setups then for all the drivers as well when you get into the lobby as well. But there we are then, Rocket Lee then P2 in the Williams, and of course then we had Dynamo Dan, and I think it was in the Red Bull then, jumping from Alpine to Red Bull, then hasn't halted his pace at all then, has it? Because he's got himself once again then into the front echelons, I should say, of the grid. And then of course we have got Luke then in P4. I can't remember how far what the rest of the field was, to be fair, but there we are then, a formidable grid indeed, I should say, then for Bronze Season 9. Then there it is then on screen then, just waiting for two more to get themselves into the lobby, and we can crack on then for the start of the Grand Prix as well. Then Dan in the Alpine, says Kian then, or Dan again in the Alpine, I should say then, says Dan, and that is correct indeed. So there we are then. Right. So we will crack on, I think, very shortly then. Kick Alpine then, says Mushroom as well then. Someone want to check, I don't know if an admin or if somebody in the bronze group, I should say, or bronze chat, I should say, in Discord, who is watching in the stream, could you comment in the bronze chat then, has someone got Jake the Slayer blocked on PlayStation, because it seems like he is struggling to get himself into the lobby, which is the reason why I think we did this restart. I'm not quite sure, but there we go then. No one kicks Dan then, so there we are. But yes, of course, the kick Alpine then was famous last season. Hopefully it doesn't return this season. We'll find out. But I'm sure I will be prone to a usual slip up every now and then. I'm not quite sure how I got the kick Sauber and the Alpine mixed up, to be fair. They're quite different colours. One of them is bright green and one of them is pink and blue. So yes, I'm not quite sure how that happened. But now we go. There we go then. Now we can both... now we can both sit here and talk about pace. Serious Mushroom then, says Kian as well then. So right then, we are still waiting for one more person to jump into the lobby, and then hopefully we can crack on then with the start of this race then eventually. But we are sitting here for whatever reason and waiting then. The weather is on random. Again, if somebody can tell Farf before we already up there, the weather is on random, then he needs to set it to what the race was going to be then, and we're still stuck here waiting as well then. But yes, give us a few moments then, guys. We'll hopefully get ourselves a race then in just a jiffy. But oh dear, goodness me. So right then, we'll get ourselves sorted then. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm going to have a quick drink. Right, here we go then. well, very soon we'll be ready to go. Nobody is. No, I don't know if anybody said. Say in the bronze chat. Say in the bronze chat what's going on, because we need to let somebody know that somebody's got Jake the Slayer blocked on PlayStation, and that is why he can't join the lobby pretty much. And also now the race has been set to dry, it looks like then, so that's going to be good stuff indeed. At least that's been done, and we can hopefully crack on then in just a jiffy then for the start of the Australian Grand Prix, the first round of Bronze Season 9. Of course, qualifying is done and dusted. We will now crack on with the race itself then, but yes, for some reason we are waiting then, so we will find out then in just a jiffy then what's going on here as well, because yes, well, there we are, we'll have to find out. But right, let's crack on then. We've had lasagna then for dinner, then we've had all sorts for dinner, it looks like, which is fantastic stuff indeed then. We will hopefully, like I said, get the technical difficulties sorted then very soon, and we can crack on then with the start of this Grand Prix in just a jiffy then. But yes, bear with us a word. Vintage said dry race then, good stuff indeed. I think I did need to know that eventually, but I would have found out eventually as well. Thankfully, I think the lobby host has been notified of that situation then as well, which is good stuff. And now we can crack on then. Farf, we're sweating, then put it to dry then, says Mushroom as well. Then I think it's already been done, Mushroom. Don't you worry. So there we go then. Right, now we just have to sit and wait then for one more person to join. And yes, there we are then. We're requesting to join then, says Farf then. Good stuff indeed. Fantastic. Right then, we'll bear with us 2 seconds. We won't be too long. We'll get ourselves sorted and back underway very shortly, and then we can crack on. So yes, it won't be too long, and we're just waiting for one more person to jump into the session, and we can crack on then for Bronze Season 9 Round 1 then. Which, like I said, hopefully won't be too long as well. Then we're sweating, then we got that done and dusted. Like I said, just waiting for the driver. I'm not sure why we're readying up already then, but we're readying up already apparently, so never mind. We can just crack on then, it seems. Then well, I'm not quite sure if they've been told to ready up or not then, but we will ready up or not nonetheless. There we go. So there we are. But I can't actually see what's going on in the Discord, so there we are. That's probably not helpful, but right then, yeah, we go. Time for setups. Don't forget your setups. There we are then. Good stuff indeed, and fantastic. And right then, well, there we are. Right, we're cracking on then. Whatever that restart was for then, it was useless, but there we go then. That's about it. So right then, yeah, we're going to crack on now as well. Then ready to, oh dear, no, I've got to get my stream back up. Where's my stream going? There we go. Right then. Now we're back in, we're back underway, and we're going to go straight into the race itself as well then. And here we are then, loading into a nice and sunny Australia once again then. 29 laps of action then. We've been delayed by about 15 minutes already then, waiting for people to get their internet sorted and get in the lobby and stuff like that. Remember to get your setups on the cars if you're listening then. If you're not listening then, that is your problem, but you need to get your setup on your car then before you start the race then. Otherwise you're going to have a default setup which is not going to feel too good around here. I can pretty much guarantee that. But there we go then. Into the session we go then, just getting the cars loaded in then, and of course getting their setups, their race strategies, their fuel loads, everything sorted, their cups of tea drank, and everything ready to get going then for the opening round then of Bronze Season 9. And ready to get going once again, and this time hopefully for the final time now as well, but we can't guarantee anything. But there we go then, we are going to crack on now for the start of the Grand Prix then. Majority of the field then on the medium compound tyres, and hard compound tyres for Smithy Almighty then, and for Vintage, who are the only two on a different tyre compound to start off this Grand Prix. And we can crack on now as well then, hopefully, after we get ourselves lined up on the grid then to start off this Grand Prix then for the first round then of Bronze Season 9. And yeah, like I said, hopefully my voice can get through it, to be fair, because I'm not quite sure it will, but we'll find out in the next few seconds or so then when we start the race. But like I said, we've had a delay already then, which is fantastic. Then we'll get ourselves underway then of the very beginning of this Grand Prix. There is the possible strategy then, medium to hard, then medium hard then is the other strategy. Then I'm not quite sure if that's going to be optimum then, but we'll find out. But we will find out which is the best strategy then in this race. Then will it be the hards to mediums then, or potentially for Smithy or Vintage, or will it be the mediums to hards then for the majority of the field, to be fair? And here we go then, cracking on now with the start of the race then as well, then heading through to line up on the grid then for the first time in Season 9 then for Bronze. And we will crack on very shortly then in Melbourne here then tonight then under the, well not under the lights then, because we're very much in the sunshine then of the Albert Park circuit then, but yeah, we are. Yes, good stuff. Right then, here comes Dan then to set ourselves underway then for Bronze Season 9. He is lined up on the grid then already. Then we'll have to try and get a better camera angle than this, but I'm not sure we can. DeCanco's got himself disqualified. Then we'll try and find a better camera angle than this, but we can't. There we go then. 5 red lights are on here for Bronze then to start off Season 9. Then the 5 red lights are out then, and away we go here in Melbourne then for round 1. Then here we heading into turn 1, then down towards turn 1 then, and it looks like Dan trying to cover off Rocket Lee. Then there's almost contact through turn 2. There's contact between the Kicksour then of Luke then and Rocket Lee heading into turn 2. Then there is the position changes already. Then Rocket Lee is battling back and trying to get himself back up into contention for the race lead. And Corey Brennan's got himself past Hungry Styles. Then there's all sorts of shenanigans going on in the background there. Corey then has had an issue, some ways ghosting as well then. And what's going on here? There's complete anarchy. Vintage is retired. And there's this virtual safety car. What's happened to Vintage then? My goodness me. And wow, what an epic start that was then. Real Ashton has had a bit of an issue then as well on the start. Then he has dropped down 6 places. Then he has got damage then as well then for the Red Bull. Then it looks like Ginger Age seems to be all right then in terms of his front wing as well. Then Liam I think is seems to be just about all right as well then. So I'm not quite sure what was the cause of all of that. But there we are then, VSC deployed then on the opening lap then here in Australia then, as Mabro's got all of his wing intact as well then it looks like. So I'm not quite sure what's happened then. Casey up 5 places, Winnie up 5 places, then IRS up 5 places as well, then into P8 for the Mercedes driver then. And there we go then. Well, Slayer said, I hate EA then. Well, it's we don't have crossplay enabled, so it's nothing to do with EA, then just get in the session. Right then, VSC then still out then, but unfortunately can't get in the session now because it's already started then, hasn't it? But there we go. Then top 5 then of state status quo, then Mr. Big's gained 3 places, sorry, up into P6 now. Astrodron then staying P7 for the time being. Serious Mushroom is in the pit lane, so maybe Serious Mushroom has got some damage then on his Aston Martin, has he? I'm not quite sure. We will find out now then if that front wing is being changed, and yes, it is being changed in. So the Aston Martin then and the Red Bull of Real Ashton, DRS has been re-enabled, and VSC is back out, gone away, is back underway. We are back underway then as we've got the Ferrari then of Winnie then, sorry not the Ferrari then, Winnie getting himself past a Ferrari of Casey and splitting the Ferrari pair then for the time being, then hanging up into P12 now for Winnie then up 6 places now. Fantastic stuff indeed then. Yes, not quite sure what happened on that start then. Liam and you mad bro then, oh my god, then your mad bro's had a problem somewhere, because now Ginger Rage is trying to get himself past the Mercedes driver. Then out in front, then Rocket Lee has gone for the lead. Then Rocket Lee with some DRS assistance has taken the lead of the Grand Prix then in the Williams team, for the Williams team I should say then, goodness me. And was flying through this race already then. I can't even keep up with the action out here in Melbourne then. Fantastic stuff indeed then. Luke then all over the back of Dan Dan. Then Dan Dan's already harvesting energy and then trying to keep up then with the Williams of Rocket Lee then as they fly through into the end of lap 2 then into lap 3 momentarily now. people are too aggressive, says Vintage. I'm not quite sure what happened to Vintage there, but the VSC was called out for his retirement as well then. So Vintage out of the race, unfortunately, then in the first race of the season then, as it stands then, which is a big shame for Vintage then. Of course, he is the fan favourite then in the bronze chat as well then. Ginger Age set the fastest lap of the race then. My goodness me, red flag it now. And there we go then. My God, he currently gets 2 points for that as well. There were P15 as it stands as well here. But Liam and, oh dear, Liam and Ginger Age are battling as well. Then Liam has been passed then by Ginger Age, but he's gone deep. Then has the racing ball driver. Then, my goodness me, he's flown off the circuit there. And that is not part of the circuit that we rent then, unfortunately. Then we did catch that on camera then, Ginger Age. Unfortunately for you then. Right then out in front, then Dan has lost out to the lead then in the first couple of laps then to Rocket Lee. Then Rocket Lee, who looked like he was going to be formidable on pole position then for the majority then of qualifying, then was pipped to the post then in the final lap then by this man here in the Alpine then, but he's now trying to put the pressure back on then. Luke is mounting the pressure as well in the kick salver then, as is Dynamo Dan, as is Hungry Styles, as is Mr. Elite then, all the way down then to P13. Vintage has left the session, unfortunately. Vintage out of the Grand Prix on the whatever happened into sector 1 then on the opening lap then. It seemed to be all sorts of anarchy then as well, and yeah, maybe Vintage will get that footage in then to be reported then to the stewards then, and they can get some investigating underway then as well. But yeah, all this battling then is IRS unfortunately has lost out then to the top 7 then. DRS is going to be very powerful around here because there's 4 DRS zones as well for that rear wing to open up here, like just here heading down towards turn 3. Then this is where the rear wing does open up. One of the places, of course, around this circuit then now that they've introduced 4 DRS zones. Corey Brennan's got himself past IRS then around the outside. I thought Smith was going to try and sniff for that move as well then, but Corey up into P8 now, and can he chase after the top 7 then in the Williams car? We will find out momentarily then. But yeah, good luck, Sean mentions Jake Sarah as well then. People too aggressive, unfortunately, for Vintage as well then. That's what's happened to Vintage, and we're not quite sure. We've seen quite a few well, not, I wouldn't say it was aggressive or not over aggressive, but it was just let's just put it as race rustiness then. We've seen that in the first couple of rounds then for gold, of course, then on Sunday then, and for silver last night, and it seems like the race rustiness is coming back here in bronze as well then. But of course, we have had a month off of Grand Prix racing, and hopefully next week then in China then was a bit more spacious, so in terms of the circuit that is. We will see. Oh dear, we got some more moves between the Ferrari pair this time, and Smithy and IRS then. Goodness me, that is not an overtaking place then, but Smithy doesn't care, he's going for it anyway then, and up into P9. So good stuff indeed then. Oh my goodness, Winnie, and Winnie then trying to go for a move then, another unconventional place as well then. I thought he was going to cut across that Mercedes and there was going to be contact on the straight then, but thankfully not. Then as we go through into turn 1 now and turn 2, then IRS has dropped down to P11 then, but now there's a Ferrari of Ducanco or Duncan Dave all over the back of him. Then Liam's picked up a penalty, the first penalty of the evening in the McLaren so far. Then Duncan Dave down the inside at turn 3, then can he slow the car down? Yes he can. Goodness me, that other Ferrari of Casey Jennett then was all over the place there. Oh dear, that car drifting then through turn 4, but Ducanco up into P11 now. Can he try and keep up then with Winnie, who is almost a second away then in the top 10 then as it stands then. Corey is 2 seconds away from Astrodron, who's holding on to the top 6 for the time being, and doing a good job then so far then is the McLaren. Then out in the lead then Dan retakes the lead, does he, into the chicane. There we go then, and Dan up into P1, back up into P1 I should say, from pole position then, and rolls have been regained I should say then from the status quo then at the beginning of the Grand Prix, the top 5 as they were then at the start of the race. So far so good then, and like I said, it's been all action in the first 5 laps now as we go through into the first into the 6th lap I should say then, finishing off the stint then very soon then in the next 5 or 6 laps or so. I would imagine the medium compound tyre runners will switch over to that to see what they're doing. Those medium compound tyre runners will be looking to make their pit stops, I would imagine then, thinking about those medium compound tyres getting a bit too worse for wear. Smith the Almighty then passing Corey then into P8 then we've got more moves as Rocket Lee has lost out to Luke, then Luke is up into P2 now then round. Oh goodness me, I thought Rocket Lee was going to poke his nose in then, but now he's under pressure from Dynamo Dan, and goodness me, so you can't stick your nose in there really. It's not a very wide part of the circuit, and it's not a very opportune move for an overtake I should say then, especially going through there side by side then. Rocket Lee, not Rocket Lee, it's Ducanco then who's had an issue then into turn 5 then, trying to get himself back on track now, but my goodness me, is there damage then to that Ferrari? Then we'll have to wait and see then, but it looks like there might be some slight damage then on the right-hand side. That Ferrari then has got some wings missing then on that right end plate. And unfortunately, that would be a pit stop, I think, for the Ferrari. Then Corey back past Smithy, then with some DRS assistance, I should say, then. And out in front, Luke has taken the lead of the Grand Prix, then with the kicks out. And then, oh my God, that's back end stepping out. Then here comes Dan trying to go down the inside. He's top winner of it then. Very wise indeed. But yeah, Luke takes the lead on lap 6, then heading into lap 7 momentarily then. And Luke then looking to charge on. Of course, he's been not been a fan favourite, I should say. Of course, he's been a resident, I should say, of Australia then, and very close to the Melbourne area, I think, as well as Luke then. So looking to try and get some second win, not second win. What is it? Home Grand Prix advantage, or moment, or some sort of home and Grand Prix advantage, I should say. Smithy then up into P8, then Corey's now under pressure from Winnie, and round down into turn 3. Then goodness me, then Corey then is trying to defend. Then Winnie trying to get his nose, and they're trying to go for the switch back round into turn 4. And oh my goodness me, now turn 5. They're side by side. Oh, there's contact. And into the wall went Corey then. I'm not quite sure what's going on then. I thought Casey was lining up a move as well there, but I think they've got through intact, I should say, there as well. But a bit of pride has been lost then as well. Then Dan and Rocket Lee then switching places. Then Rocket Lee back up into P2. Is he? Yes, he is. Oh my God! Then that seemed a bit of a difficult entry to that chicane then as well. Then, but he's got himself into P2 nonetheless. And now charging on then as well, heading into sector 3. Then Dynamo Dan then right behind his former teammate then of Dan. Then he is currently P3. Then P4 for the Red Bull then as we head into lap 8 very shortly. Then both the Haas is doing a fantastic job. P5 and P6 at the moment. Then McLaren of Astrodron then in P7 as it stands. My goodness me, it's been absolutely epic this first 7 laps, and unfortunately for Vintage, not so much for him, but he is out of the Grand Prix then. Duncan Dave then has pitted then for a new front wing, I think, as we've got Dynamo Dan go for a move on his former teammate of Dan as well, then up into P3 then for Dynamo Dan, then onto the podium place is now for Red Bull, as he takes that place away from P3 in the Drivers' Championship last season. Both the Hasses then, I think they were just thinking about maybe doing a bit of team orders then, but they're staying status quo for the time being as well. Then out in front, the 7/10 of a second gap. Then if Rocket Lee starts to have a bit of an issue then on his tyres, then they might be able to, Luke might be able to scamper away then from the pack behind them. But can he scamper away is the question. Then Rocket Lee will have DRS then down this next straight. Then we've got a problem for Smithy Almighty. Then Smithy's had an issue then at turn 6. And oh my God, where's he going? There's a wall there. He's got to get himself backwards then, sir. Backwards then, sir. And now go forwards then, sir. And now back onto the circuit then, sir. But of course, avoiding Mabro then, is coming through in P14 now. Mushroom then, of course, has had to pit early then as well. Then as has Real Ashton and Duncan Dave now as well. Then Winnie has lost out to both Casey and Corey then as well, heading into sector 3. And they're side by side through here. Then the Williams has got the outside. Then I think he's got the momentum as well. Then yes, he does. Does he? Goodness me. Oh my God. Oh God, that's going to be close indeed. Round the outside, he's drifting it. And unfortunately, that is not the best way to drive an F1 car. And that has cost him 2 places then for Casey, unfortunately. Heading through the last couple of corners then down to P10 now as well then. My God, then that is pretty epic stuff indeed then. It's Formula Drift, Command Racers then, new wheel and base and pedal seems to be better for styles then. Definitely indeed then as Mr. Elite and Astrodron are battling away then into turn 3 then. Corey and Winnie as well then into turn 3. Round the outside goes the Williams, then down the inside goes the Aston, then now turns roles reverse then into turn 4 then, and Winnie has got himself up into P8 now. Into the pits comes Smithy Almighty then. He's calling it 8 on the, he's got wing damage, and unfortunately for Smithy Almighty, that is why he's having to call it a day on the hard compound tyres so early on in the stint as well. Then my goodness me, then can the mediums get to the end of the Grand Prix from here? We'll have to find out now. But Smithy then onto the set of medium compound tyres, and back underway we go then. The top 7 then are split by barely anything at this stage. Goodness me, what's that? It's Hungry Styles, and I think we've cursed him, and he's got damage then. I think he might have damage as well then, but it might be an opportune time to pit anyway. But yes, Styles seems to have some sort of issues. Then Astrodron has passed Mr. Elite, then Mr. Elite coming back at him then into sector 3. My goodness me. But that battling, goodness me, as well, then more action. That battling between the McLarens and the Hasses, or the McLaren and the Hasses, I should say, then has cost them all. DRS then on the top 4 then, who can now scamper away here. And Astrodron then is trying to get himself back past. Then Hungry Styles has got damage and on that left end plate then, unfortunately for the Haas driver then. Mr. Elite has been passed, but he's gone off the circuit then. And now his teammate has gone round the outside of him at turn 2 as well then. Goodness me. It is all action here in Australia then tonight. tight then, and heading into turn 3, then they've kept it calm now for once now as well. Then fantastic stuff indeed, but brilliant racing. Unfortunately, a few like I said earlier on, then a bit of race rust then after a month off, then and not a circuit that we can go straight head on into. I think with full confidence that everyone's going to have the best and cleanest race of their careers, but here we go. That's what I can say about Australia. Rocket Lee has taken back the lead, has he? Yes, he has. Then into the chicane, then on lap 10, then he's back up into P1, then is Rocket Lee. Luke then down to P2, then Dynamo Dan P3, Dan in P4, but they've split away. Like I was saying, that battling then has cost Astrodron Hungry Styles and Mr. Elite there we go. The DRS then on the top 4, they've split away into another pack now. Then Corey Brennan's past Winnie then into P8 now as these two carry on their fight. Then they've been joined by Casey then in the Ferrari as well there. Out in front then Dan is calling it today on the medium compound tyres, going for the earlier stop here then for the Alpine driver. Then let's see if it's going to pay off. Then Hungry Styles is also in the pits. Of course, Hungry Styles I think has wing damage in, so might have to spend a bit longer in the pit lane then to try and get that front wing sorted. Then Dan onto the hard compound tyres. Then Hungry Styles then will have a wing change as well. Then hard compound tyres going on. Then Ginger Rage, no it's not, it's Liam, sorry, into the pit lane as well. Then from the McLaren team then getting that car serviced and onto a new set of boots then for Liam as well. Then heading back out then on the hard compound tyres. He'll be ahead then of Serious Mushroom, I would imagine, then as they start off lap 11 now. Right then out in front. Dynamo Dan's had an issue somewhere because he's lost out 2 seconds then to he's lost out 2 seconds to the top 2. Then they have split off completely then and flying away. Then oh no, I think of course Dan was due to pit then, wasn't he? Dan was ahead of Dynamo Dan, and that might have held up Dynamo Dan then trying to get himself through the final couple of corners. Then wow, and Corey Brennan's lost 2 places. Then going around either side. Then it was Casey Dennett and Winnie. Then Casey up into P6. Then oh my goodness me, he's almost lost the car then, and Winnie's almost into the back of him there as well. The leaders changed as well. Then Rocket League, no, it's Luke has had an issue at where is that in sector 3, goodness me there, but Luke has had an issue as well now, and maybe these tyres are getting worse for wear then at this stage. They're just getting too hot then in the Australian sunshine as well then, but Luke has had an issue 2 seconds now. He's lost then to the lead of the Grand Prix, and my goodness me, then Astrodron is back in the fight then, as is Mr. Elite as well now. Winnie is calling it then on the medium compound tyres, then into the pits then for the Aston Martin driver, and so is IRS then, IRS in the pits then, as is Ginger Rage as well then. Will he slow it down in time then? Yes, he will. Very good stuff indeed from Ginger Rage then. Where will they come out then? Dan then has got himself through then. Dan the first man to pit then in this race so far then in terms of a strategic call. But we will find out then. Dan then is 8 seconds away then from the top 7 at this moment in time. Equine said I had a horror show in the Alpine 2 vintage. Good thing we got someone who to carry us then, says Equine as well. Then Mr. Eats picking up a penalty, unfortunately. Liam has got himself past Ginger Rage, and these two battling away. Then they were battling on earlier on in the stint on the medium compound tyres, and I think they've come out in very close proximity as well then at the pit stop phase, or after the pit stop phase. Then Liam has got a 1 lap undercut then on Ginger Rage, but of course we'll have 1 lap older tyres at the at the towards the end of this race. Then they have now got themselves into a fight then with IRS, then who's up into P12. Then Hungry Styles has come out behind you. Mad Bro is yet to pit then, but Hungry Styles now up into P10, then passing the Mercedes then as we go through then into the chicane then on lap 12. Then out in front then the leaders in the pit lane, as is Luke. Then Dynamo Dan is also in the pits, and Astrodron carries on then. Astrodron is going to take the lead of the Grand Prix into lap 13. Wow. And horror show, I had a horror show too, vintage, so carry on mate then, says Kamara Racer. Then yeah, unfortunately for vintage, and just well, it was luckily it was the first lap, so it wasn't like he had to do the whole race, and then it was the last lap that he had a DNF. But yes, there we are. Then oh dear, I thought that was going to be close indeed. But Dan has taken the net lead of the Grand Prix here, and that is looking pretty good indeed. Rocket Lee then is 1.5 seconds behind. Then coming out of the pit lane. Then of course 2 lap younger tyres then for Rocket Lee then to the end of this Grand Prix. Hungry Styles has passed Casey Dennett. Then of course the same difference as well for tyre compounds. Oh my god, then as Casey has just gone right into the back of Hungry Styles there. My god, then that is what you call misjudging your braking point in dramatic style. Real Ashton into the pit lane as well, then medium compound tyres going on to the Red Bull car. Then unfortunately for Real Ashton, it's not been the start of the Grand Prix, not the start of the season that he wanted in the Red Bull car. Then Same for Mushroom, then same for Smithy as well. Then, and for Dekanko as well. Then Dynamo Dan has got himself past Mystery, then up into P6 now. Dynamo Dan. Then where is he going to be trying to? Well, where was he? He was not. He was less. It's more than 3. He was less than 3 seconds behind Luke. Let's just say that then before the stops. Then so unfortunately for Dynamo Dan, then it's not going his way. Then whatever happened then before the pit stop phase. Then Casey Dent has got himself past Hungry Styles. Then for P9 up into P9 now for the Ferrari, of course. Then the top 2 have now pitted. Then Astrotron, hard compound tires going on. Then William Bent of Corey Brennan then coming into the pit lane as well. Then Dan takes the lead of the Grand Prix onto lap 14. Then at the halfway point almost of this Grand Prix as well. Brilliant stuff then. And like I said, it's been action all the way then so far in this race. Then here comes Casey then trying to get himself. Well, he's in a bit of a fight then with Hungry Styles. Then Hungry Styles backs out then. Corey coming out of the pit lane now will be behind Ginger Rage. Then where is IRS then heading down the main straight. Then Corey then just ahead of us then into P12 then. Umabra coming out of the pit lane now as well will be behind Dukanko and Smithy then as it stands there. But on the fresh set of hard compound tyres can get himself booted underway. And away he goes. Right then. Rocket Lee then is 1.8 seconds behind Dan. Of course, Dan won the first Grand Prix of the season last season, looking like he is 1.8 seconds away from winning the first Grand Prix of this season as well. Then Dynamo Dan then has passed Astra John. Then Astra John's done a good job then getting himself into P5 then with the extended stint then as well. Then on the medium compound tires then with Dynamo Dan has got himself back up into P4 now, passing the McLaren then to Ginger Rage and Liam. Then once again carrying on their fight. Then Ginger Rage up into P10. And goodness me, there's a snap there as well. Then from the racing ball, then that could invite the McLaren to try and go for a move once again then, but Ginger Rage has got the DRS as well then to try and stave off the attack into Sector 3. There we go, so far so good then. Now, oh dear, that was very wide then, I think, from the Red Bull then, of Dynamo Dan then heading down the main straight then, 5 seconds behind the top 3 now. My God, man, what is happening to Dynamo Dan's pace then on the hard compound tyres? Then it is dropping off then significantly now as well, then, because Astrodron then and Winnie then are all over the back of them. Then Hungry Stars has picked up a penalty then, unfortunately, as he goes into through the first chicane, I think. Then that's turn 1 and 2 then with those warnings as well. Then unfortunately then for the Haas car then, right then 1.7 seconds to lead out in front. Then Luke is now into the fight then for that third or second place. Now he's got the DRS then on Rocket Lee. Dynamo Dan is almost 6 seconds behind here as well. And this is not good stuff indeed then for the Red Bull. Then Astrotron then looking to put the pressure on then onto this back straight, which isn't a straight. Then Dukanko and Smithy they're battling as well. Then goodness me, round the outside goes Dukanko, and here we go. Then Winnie and Astrotron then are battling as well. Then there's a Red Bull involved with Dynamo Dan. There's contact then between the McLaren and Astrotron, McLaren and Red Bull, sorry. And there we go. Then Winnie's up into P4 on all that. So there we go then. But very good stuff indeed. And now there's a Haas then of Mr. Lee trying to squeeze round the outside then of Astrotron. And has he done it is the question. Yes, he has. Just about. Goodness me. That is close stuff. That's close racing indeed. That's brilliant racing indeed. There's no contact there. Oh, there is contact there. Goodness me. And once again, then these two battling then is going to be costing them because they've lost out then to the DRS once again then to the two ahead of them. And I'm not sure if they've realised that it's not working that way then when they do battle because they are losing time. Then hand over fist then to the two ahead. Here comes Winnie then, and here comes Dynamo Dan then into turn 3. Then Dynamo Dan takes back P4. Ginger Age picks up a 3-second penalty. There's penalties starting to rack up there as well. Then Luke has got himself past Rocket Lee into P2, 1.9 seconds the gap then to the race leader then of Dan, who is almost 2 seconds clear then at this stage then. But can Rocket Lee and Luke work together then to try and reel in that Alpine car? We will have to wait and see. But at the moment they don't seem to be working too well together then, because they've lost a bit of time, then lost the 10th or 2 then to the Alpine, of course, of Dan as it stands. And Dan's had an issue then. Dan's had a problem at the chicane, then he's lost the lead then of the Grand Prix then on lap 16. Then Dan had a spin then at the chicane, then he's dropped down to P3. Then Luke has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. My goodness me, I was just well, we were just saying how well Dan was doing there, and the commentator's curse then does strike very difficultly then for bronze, and very hard then indeed then from my station up in the gods then commentating down on these F1 cars then flying around this circuit then. But I'm very sorry then to Dan I should say then in the Alpine. Then I have cursed him commentatorily, and he has dropped down from P1 then down to P3 then, so it is definitely my fault for that then. But Please don't tell him. So there we go then. Right then, out in front then we've got now Rocket Lee and Luke then in a bit of a battle. Then almost 6 seconds back now is Dan this time. Dynamo Dan has caught up to his former teammate then of the out in the Alpine of Dan. That is a Smithy while he's picked up a penalty as well. Then goodness me, the penalty's racking up then. Winnie now all over the back of Dynamo Dan. Goodness me, then Astrodron has dropped out of the DRS range and with that battling with Mr. Elite has just cost them then to the DRS then of the trio now ahead of them with Dan's issue on the previous lap. Then heading through then in towards the chicane. Then Dynamo Dan then trying to mount a charge. Then can he go for the move? Then into the chicane, too far back. Then he thinks better of it, and he just needs to get himself through the chicane nicely indeed. Then to then maybe mount an attack then into sector 3 then, but I think he's too far back once again. Then Styles has got a 3-second penalty for corner cutting, and IRS has got himself past Liam, has he? Yes, he has. Then into the chicane as well then, and the Mercedes now ahead of the McLaren for the time being. Right then, Astrodron then Mr. Lee couldn't get himself past Astrodron then out in the lead. Rocket Lee then is trying to get himself back up into the race lead as well here, but he can't quite do it then in towards turn 1. Then Astrodron has picked up a penalty then as well. Then Dynamo Dan looking to make a move then for P3 into turn 1. Then yes, he's done it then up into P3 then for the podium places then for Dynamo Dan. Oh dear, there's all sorts of grass kicking up then as well then with Mr. Elite passing Astrodron then I think for P6 then and trying to fight back in towards turn 3. Then Mr. Elite has got the move then. Oh dear, there's contact, and Astrodron has been passed by Casey Dennett as well. Then Casey's up into P7, then taking the opportunity move and getting himself up into P7, then passing the McLaren as well, then into turn, well, on the exit of turn 3, I should say then. But very opportune move indeed from the Ferrari. Then here comes Luke, and here comes Rocket Lee. Rocket Lee takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Lap 18 then as we fly through the chicane once again. Then of course he's going on purple in sector 2, and Rocket Lee is on a flyer then in this lap then as well. Then let's see if he can get himself a purple lap time as well. Then at the moment we'll find out then who's got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. It is Luke. So of course there will be an extra point then for anybody, whichever position you finish. Then if you finish the race as well, then not a ghost car, not a whatever car. Oh God! As we go through into sector 3, then Casey has passed Mr. Elite then for P6. But literally, I think it was very careful then to try and avoid any damage and any contact as well. Then Rocket Lee has set the fastest lap of the race. Then he has got himself that extra point as well. Then I said he was on a charge. Then that purple was sector 2, looking very promising indeed. Then Dynamo Dan is now 8 seconds away from the top 2. The top 2 has split off into the distance here. Dynamo Dan under pressure from his former teammate Dan as well. Then Winnie in P5. Then now Casey is almost 2 seconds behind the trio ahead. Then for the final podium place. Then he is under pressure from Mr. Elite, then into turn 3, then not quite then from the house limit, he's cut back underneath, and can he go for it at turn 4, almost into the back of the Ferrari then, but very close indeed, but not quite at this stage. Into the pits comes Smithy then back into the pits for the second time, and hopefully this is a strategy. Oh, let's Corey Brennan's had an issue, then he's off the circuit, then trying to get himself back underway. Corey has had an issue then in the Williams at turn 3, I think that is, then into turn 4, then I'm not quite sure, he was battling with Ginger Age then, so maybe Ginger Age is under a bit of an investigation after that one as well then, goodness me, hopefully not then, but just as for the standards of the admins they should be setting. But there we go then. Smithy Almighty then onto a fresh set of medium compound tyres, I think, to the end of the Grand Prix from here, and potentially can go for the fastest lap. Then Luke has taken back the lead of the Grand Prix from Rocket Lee. Then Mr. Elite up into P6, passing Casey. Always gone over the curve, and that's a very big bounce indeed for the chassis then of the Haas, then heading into the final couple of corners of lap 19 now as well. Then Winnie then all over the back of Dan, and then Winnie looking to line up a move. There's penalties all over the place then for the majority of the field. The top 4 are keeping it clean then, as is DeCanco, Serious Mushroom, Umabro, and Real Ashton out there. But of course, we will have to wait and see then if they can keep it all together then for the remaining few laps of this Grand Prix as well. Then heading into turn 2 and 3 then, and Astrodron has got himself, oh dear, Casey's off the circuit as well. Then goodness me, that rear diffuser was shaking all over the place. And now Styles and Casey then are battling. Then down the inside goes the Ferrari. Then keeps hold of P8 then, but unfortunately he's lost out to Astrodron then and Mr. Elite as well, respectively. Then back up into P7 and P6 as well here. Right then, here comes Rocket Lee, and Rocket Lee back up into the rocketing back up into the lead of the Grand Prix, then into the chicane once again. Then on lap 20 then of 29, then 9 laps remaining at the end. Is it 9? Well, I can't do the mouse then. Maybe it's 8. Some laps remaining at the end of this one, and we've got to get to the end of lap 29 to finish off the Grand Prix. Then Dynamo Dan has lost out then to Dan, then Dan up into P3. Then there's too many Ds and Dans all over the place. And I think Ginger Ray did a fantastic job of trying to cope with it. We've got a problem then for a Haas. Then it's, oh no, it's Styles then. Styles needs to get himself moving again then and try and get himself back on the way. No, he's gone reversed into the wall then. But I don't think Styles has remembered that the top 15 get points, and so the quicker he can get himself back underway and get himself sorted, then the better, because he could get himself back. He couldn't get himself back in the points here, good Styles, but he's given up already. Then, unfortunately, then so he needs to get himself into the pits then to sort that front wing out. It could not. It could. Oh dear! Oh god! There's almost contact between Duncan Dave. Then he's got a penalty for that as well. Then Duncan Dave and Mushroom as well. Then God, that was an ambitious move then from Serious Mushroom down the inside, and goodness me. Hungry Styles is in the pits now, sorry, to sort out that front wheel. He's got a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so I think that's his race done and dusted. Then even P15 now is not going to be on the cards, with Pro then steaming through then for P15 now. Then Smithy Almighty then, who is still going in this race. Then Styles is pit and quit. Then he is out of the Grand Prix then already. Then unfortunately then on lap 21, that is, well, lap 24, Hungry Styles unfortunately there. That is not good news indeed then. What's the pens and where's my boy Sean, says Slayer. Then Astrodron has put himself past into P6. Then Dan's picked up another penalty as well. Then goodness me, the penalty is starting to roll in here, and yeah, 3 seconds of the majority of the field. Casey's got 9 seconds. More yellow flags. I think it's for that Haas car then that's been stranded on the exit of the pit lane then. I think it's been cleared away now, which is good stuff indeed then. But 3 second penalty then for Dan, for Winnie, for Astrotron, then for Mr. Elite then, and for Ginger Region, and for Liam and IRS, who are battling side by side into Sector 3. And oh dear, oh god then. And there we go then. Corey Brent, oh dear, no, that's Liam then, who's had a bit of a snap then, and that's off the circuit. Then IRS back through then into P10. And Sean then is currently on the cards for some points paying positions, let's just say that then. Dynamo Dan, oh my god, it's 3-1. There's all sorts of contact there as well then, my goodness me. Oh my god, then as Hungry Styles doesn't have the session then, but unfortunately he's out of the Grand Prix here. Yes, I'm not quite sure what is going on here, because it's all over the place. Then Rocket Lee has taken back the lead of the race from Luke then into Sector 2. Dynamo Dan then, they were going 3 wide through turn 3 and 4, which is just crazy. But yes, oh my dear, oh my days, let's just say that. And oh god, then once again then, I'm not quite sure what is going on here. Then they've been caught by Astro John then with all of that. Mr. Elite's caught up, so is Casey Jennett as well then. Oh my days, it's all action out here as well then. Into oh my goodness me, into Sector 3, and then Dynamo Dan I think has kept hold of the place then. Head of Dan I should say then, stays P4 for the time being, and Winnie now into P3, but of course has got that penalty then, which will be added onto his race time at the end of lap 29, so needs to scamper off into the distance if he wants to get himself on that final podium place then. But Dynamo Dan is coming back at Winnie then into turn 1 then. Can he make the move then? Yes he can. Then he's up into P3. Oh my god, then I thought Dan was going to go for a move as well then, but it's not quite materialised. Oh, and he's been caught up on the back of the Aston Martin there as well then, and there's an Astro John then into the back of the Aston Martin again, and Winnie's gone for a spin then as well then. My goodness me. Oh my. It is all action out here, let's just say that then, in bronze. And yes, I'm not quite sure what happened to Winnie then, because I'm not quite sure if he was given a helping hand on that one or not then. But yeah, nonetheless, then he is down to P8 then. He's still within the train, to be fair, so he recovered that very quickly indeed, did Winnie. But Casey Jennett then on the charge, trying to get himself past Dan. Unfortunately for Casey, then the penalty situation then is not in his favour then. Even with these drivers who've got 3 seconds then, he will still lose out then, because I don't think he's going to be able to scamper away by 6 seconds in the next 6 laps. He's going to have to find a second a lap then. He's on similar tyre life to the rest of the field as well. The Dynamo Dan then is almost out of DRS range then of the field of the 4 behind, I should say. But yes, he has done that just about, I think, as well now. So that's going to be good news indeed for Dynamo Dan. Then can he scamper away? Then can he cement that P3 position? Then we'll find out. Then Dan trying to get himself back up into P4. Then Duncan Dave in the other Ferrari then is fighting with Serious Mushroom then into the chicane then into P13. Then of course there is points on offer then for P13 and 14 as well now for bronze, that is. But at the moment then it is going that way then for Duncan Dave and Mushroom as well. Then Smith Almighty then have it holding on to the final points paying position as it stands as well now. Driver of the day is out in the comment section. It's a bit early on, so maybe hold off for your vote for the time being. There's Mr. Elite then and Astra John are battling away then side by side. Once again then heading into turn 4, then not a conventional overtaking place, but it seems like the most common overtaking place then for bronze tonight. Luke has back past Rocket League, then heading into the chicane once again. These two actually not really fighting, I don't think, to be fair. They're working together. They've extended the gap then to Dynamo Dan by over 13 seconds. And Dynamo Dan has now got himself been caught, I should say, once again then to the DRS then of Casey Jennett. Then into the chicane we go. Then Mr. Elite picks up a penalty. Then that's 6 seconds now for Mr. Elite. Then as the penalties are definitely tumbling in, goodness me, in the last few laps as well. Then Rocket League, Dynamo Dan, then Luke and Ginger Rage, and are your candidates for driver of the day. Then not quite sure why Ginger Rage is involved in that, but there we are then, as we'll have a look at the position changes as well then. Winnie's up 10 places then, but of course Winnie has we've only got 3 seconds of penalties then, so it's not too bad actually. Winnie wouldn't lose any places. Then we've got what's happening here, then we've got Corey up into P10 now, and into the pits comes Real Ashton. Then Real Ashton is coming out of the pit lane now, but he's on the soft compound tyres. And a bit of yellow flag, I think, for that Rebel, then going slowly out of the pit lane exit. But there we go then. So, like I said, penalty situation, then position changes. Then Casey is up into P4, I should say, up 13 places. But unfortunately, with the penalty situation, then he will be dropping down behind Dan, behind Mr. Elite, behind Astra John, then behind Winnie, potentially. I'm not quite sure behind Ginger Rage then, but yes, it could go. It could go a bit differently then, I think, for Casey. And then in the next few laps, then on lap 25 then of 29, then there is still 4 laps to go. Then at the end of this one, then here comes the race leaders then into the final couple of corners. Then Astrodon is back past Mr. Elite, then into the chicane. Then, like I said, that these two are battling away. That has cost them quite a lot of time dearly to the pack ahead then as well. Then as Casey Dent is going for a move then on Dynamo Dan, then around the outside. Then he's got the move, I think. Yes, he has then up into P3. Then, of course, that's not a net. Oh, we've got a problem then. I think it's Ginger Rage and at the chicane. Then he's got himself back underway quickly enough. Then I think there's no damage, but I think he's had a bit of a problem. Then IRS now all over the back, and then Corey Brennan then as well has got wing damage then in the Williams, but is looking to fight then for that P10 position. I think that, oh God, then what has happened there? And I don't know if that was desync or if that was just IRS having a big problem then as well then, but yes. Oh my God. Right then, Corey Brennan then onto the main straight, then we see DRS, then he's getting himself back up into P10, I should say here. Very nicely done indeed. Then can he chase after Ginger Rage now? Is his next target as well. Then out in front, then these two minutes have to start battling for the race win now in the next lap or two. Rocket League going back for the lead then into the chicane. Then he's got himself back up into P1 now as well. Then Dynamo Dan then trying to retake that P3 position then away from Casey Jennett as well, heading through this sector 2, then this fast slaloming sector 2. Then DRS available then as well. Then for the Red Bull, then passing up into P3 and then back into the podium places now for Dynamo Dan. Then in the Red Bull, then IRS has picked up a 3-second bonus. Then Casey then that back end all over the place, then stepping out the chicane then as well. Then holding on to P4 for the time being as well then. Wow, my goodness me. Right, then get your votes in then for driver of the day then quickly as well, in the next lap or two, because we'll have a quick look then through the position changes as well. Then Dynamo Dan has gained a place, then Luke has gained a place, Rocket Lee has gained a place as well then, and of course Ginger Rage has gained 7 places as it stands, but I think might be looking behind him rather than forwards in the next few seconds or so. Then Dynamo Dan, has gone down the inside then of Casey, then into turn 1, then up into P4 now for Dan, I should say, and trying to chase down his forward teammate. Ginger Racing is under pressure now from Corey Brennan, then into lap 27, I think turning to 28, is it? No, it's 27 now. Corey then shaping up for a move then, but he's too far back then into turn 1, then can he shape for a move then into turn 3 then, if he gets a good exit then, oh dear, Kanko's off the circuit then in sector 3, and he's had a bit of a spin then as well, trying to get himself back underway. Then can he get himself back underway quickly enough? Then yes he can, and he's back underway quickly enough then to us. Casey's had an issue as well, then Casey has had an issue as well, then he's lost out to Astra John then and to Mr. Elite then as well here. Oh my goodness me, what's happened then to Casey? Then he's dropped down to P7 here, and I'm not quite sure if there was a helping hand in that one as well then, but my goodness me, it's getting chaotic then in the last few stages here of bronze, and heading into the final couple of quarters now then for lap 27, then the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix about to commence, and then, oh dear, Rocket Lee and Luke then seem to be having horrible snaps then out of the final few quarters, and they seem to be following each other in that same mantra as well then, going through each lap, but I don't think they need to worry too much. Then they're going to be guaranteed currently P1 or P2 at worst, as it stands in with a 14 or almost 15-second buffer then to P3 of Dynamo Dan. Then here comes Dan then on the charge, then in towards turn 1. Then Winnie is back past into P7, then passing Casey, who's into the pit lane now for a set of soft compound tyres and a front wing change. This is going to be costly indeed. Then what's going on here? Then Corey Brennan's going to go through. I think IRS will go through as well, as will Ginger Rage. Then Ginger Rage is past. Casey's coming down the pit lane. Then Liam's gone up into P11. Then Casey coming out the pit lane now in P12. I'm not quite sure that was the best strategy then for Casey then, because I think if he stayed in, he's got the penalties as well then, unfortunately as well then, but I think if he just stayed where he was, oh God, Ginger Rage cutting across that Mercedes then, I thought it was going to be disastrous, but thankfully not then. Into the pits comes Mushroom as well then. I think it's fastest lap attempts then going for the Mushroom and for Casey as well potentially here. Mr. Elite then into P5 passing Astrodron. Then can he charge on for more? Penalty situation then was not in his favour. It's not in Astrodron's favour as well then, but if Mr. Elite finishes ahead of the McLaren, he can at least keep that place as well then. He's currently keeping that place away from Winnie then, so he would stay P5 then as it stands for Mr. Elite then on his first appearance in bronze. Of course, he has been a veteran then in ALR then since the first season of ALR has Mr. Elite then. He has done a fantastic job then in his first season in bronze as well then. Of course, he's taken part in lots of gold seasons, lots of silver seasons then, and now in his first season for bronze as well then. Here we go then, out in front, the final lap has commenced then. We're going to have to watch this battle then as what is going on then. Luke has gone through then, and whatever's happened then to Rocket Lee then. Rocket Lee has lost the DRS then, and Luke then is going to take the lead, and over a second away then from Rocket Lee then. I think this could be Luke's to lose now, and I think Rocket Lee then has made an issue then. I think he was trying to play a bit of DRS chicken or something or other then, but it didn't work out then because he's lost out then. I think he's lost the DRS as well then, heading around through the final chicane, final sector 2 I should say, then into the final chicane I should say, and Luke then is going to be looking very proud about that then. Goodness me, I thought that back end was gone then, and now Rocket Lee is back in contention with that snap then for the kick salver. Then Astrodron is back past Mr. Elite, is he? Yes he is. Dan has passed Dynamo Dan as well then. Luke and Rocket Lee then are going to be fighting tooth and nail then with some DRS then for the Williams, and up to the line then. Let's see what it's going to be then from the kick salver then, or the Williams then. We'll find out very soon. Then here we go then, round the final corner then. Can they keep it in a straight line then through this final corner? Then Rocket Lee's got a penalty for his troubles there, and Luke is going to win the Australian Grand Prix for bronze season 9 round 1 then. He has done it then in the kick salver then, and his second home Grand Prix I should say then. But Luke claims the victory here in Australia then. Fantastic scenes indeed then for the kick salver team, and well done indeed to Luke as well. And unfortunately that final corner then cost Rocket Lee a penalty then. P2 nonetheless then, a fantastic result then. Dynamo Dan P3 in the end, fantastic from the Red Bull driver as well then. Dan P4, Astrodron P5, Mr. Elite P6, Winnie in P7. Corey Brennan will cross the line P8. I think he's going to keep that position as well then. Ginger Rage P9. Casey's got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix then. IRS P10 then. Liam P11 then. Casey P12 with the fastest lap then. The Smith the Almighty is going to be P13. Kanko P14, no, I think Mushroom's going to get P14 actually. Then Kanko P15, then he's running off the points paying positions. Then New Mabro then P16. Real Ashton then is finished P17. Unfortunately for Real Ashton, not in the points paying positions, but fair play to Real Ashton for soldiering on as well. Corey Brennan is DNF then, but I think he's going to be classified. I'm not quite sure exactly where he finished now, but there he was. But there we go then. Driver of the day then, it's gone to Rocket Lee then P2 in the end then tonight then, but we'll get some interviews underway hopefully then with the top 3 candidates then as well then. Fantastic racing indeed then, well done indeed to bronze then, finishing off the first round of the season then for gold, silver and bronze, done and dusted here in Australia then. On to China in a week's time then, from Sunday for gold then, from Monday for silver, and of course in a week's time tonight, from tonight in China for bronze as well then. But there we go then, the winner then is Luke then in the kick salver then. He lifts the trophy aloft then for the green machine. We've got of course got Rocket Lee and the Williams then P2 then, and Dynamo Dan then rounding off the podium for the first round of the season here in Australia in the Red Bull as well. Brilliant stuff indeed then. Well done to everyone who finished that one. And like I said, it was a race of attrition, as it usually is around Australia. Let's just say that then. So Luke takes the win, then Rocket Lee P2, then Dynamo Dan P3, Dan P4, then Astrodron P5, Mr. Elite P6, Winnie P7, Ginger Age P8, then IRS P9, Liam P10. Then I think actually we've got some issues then because Corey Brennan would have been P8 then. So Ginger Age P9, then IRS P10, Liam P11, Casey P12, then with Fastest Lap, then Smithy P13, Serious Mushroom P14, and Dukanko rounding off the points in P14. Umabro P16, Real Ashton P17, unfortunately for Styles and Vintage out of the Grand Prix then for the Haas and for the Alpine drivers then, and Jake the Slayer then couldn't get himself into the lobby. Fantastic stuff indeed then. Hopefully we'll get some interviews underway very shortly then, but we'll find out now. But we'll just get ourselves sorted then for the interviews momentarily then as well. But there we go then. We've got ourselves done and dusted, I think, then for... oh, hang on. I can't get me screen up, but there we go. No, that's not right. What's going on here? No, dear. There we go. Got there in the end. Welcome along then, I think, to Luke then. Luke, our race winner here tonight then. Fantastic stuff indeed from yourself. But you got yourself a race win here and your second home race, I should say. How do you feel after that one, the opening race of the season?
I loved every single minute of that race. That was, I think, the most fun I've had in a league race in a very, very long time. Yeah, it is my second home. It is almost my second home race. I know this track inside and out. I've walked this track when it's not a track. I've walked this track when they're building it as a track. Walked this track as a racetrack when it's been deconstructed. I've driven around it, cycled around it, so I know every inch of this track in real life. But yeah, that was incredible. Fair play to Rocket Lee there. That was, as I said, the most fun I think I've ever had in a league race, potentially ever.
And you did a fantastic job then battling, I think, for the majority of the race there at the top of the field. When the pack thinned out, then when it got just down to you two, then did you think you were going to have something at the end then to try and get away from it, or did you just have to hope that it was going to go into your favour then on the final lap?
I thought there was one point, I can't remember the lap, I thought I was going to get away because I got past Rocket Lee with the DRS, pulled away in the second DRS zone, and I think it was about 7/10. I thought, I might be able to break it here, because if I didn't break it, I wasn't going to pull away from him, and then I lost it coming into the penultimate, just before the penultimate corner. I thought, my life flashed before my eyes. I thought, this is it. I've bottled it effectively. But yeah, thankfully didn't quite. But yeah, it was on the last lap, and my engineer was just yelling at me, screaming at me, going, "Stay right behind him. He can't brake check you if you're up his rear wing." And then when Lee went really slowly out of turn 3, I ignored my engineer, went fuck it, and just floored it. And my engineer was screaming at me, going, "Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why you do that?" And then he saw that I pulled the second to lead to get out of his DRS, and then my engineer was just completely stunned for the rest of the lap. But yeah, it was a hell of a race. Really good fun. And a shame about I think it was who's in the Alpine, Dan? Dan who span out after the pit stops, because I think that would have been a really fun three-way fight to the end. So unfortunate for him, but yeah, loved that race.
And you've got the championship lead then after the first round. Then what's your aspirations for the season? Then is it going to be carrying on this way, or what's the plan then for the rest of the season as well?
Yeah, the plan is for the championship. Last season was a good baseline foundation to sort of work off of. I was quite consistent last year, got quite a few podiums, so the championship is definitely the goal. It's not going to be easy. Rocket Lee, Dan, and I'm sure Jinner will be there next week when he comes back. So the goal is the championship, and a hell of a way to start the season. Can't be sort of prouder than that, but yeah, this is going to see away from here. The next 2 races aren't my forte. Don't like China, don't like Japan, so not the strongest next few races for me, and then we'll sort of go from there, really.
We'll wait and see then. Congratulations then to Luke, then the race winner then for the first round of the season, then for season 9 in bronze. And Kickstarter, we're going to be very proud of you indeed. Well done. On to Rocket Lee then, P2 tonight then. Rocket Lee, it was absolutely formidable stuff to watch then, the old battling then with Luke for the majority of that race, especially the second stint then as well. What was your aspirations then going into this race then? Did you think you were going to be, firstly, did you think you were going to be on pole position then at the beginning of qualifying?
No, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't come into the race overly confident. I thought I was going to be around mid-pack and everything, but pace seemed alright. But Luke, I'll give it to you. That was a great battle, mate.
Oh, that was.
And like I said, you were pretty comfortable then in the pack. Then it looked like for the majority of the race, as Luke said, it looked like well, both of you, from my point of view, were having a few back end issues in that final few laps. And I think the tyres might be going away from you. But fantastic battling indeed. Then was there anything you thought into the last few laps then that you were going to try and do? Well, it looks like there was a bit of tactics going on then in turn 3 on the final lap. Was that the case, or was there something else going on there?
I think me and Luke had the exact same idea of what to do on that last lap.
Oh yeah, we did.
It's definitely a shame that Dan spun, because I agree with Luke. It would have been a great three-way between myself, Luke, and Dan.
Well, that sounds pretty spicy indeed. Well, recorded. But
yeah.
save that for after 9 PM, guys. But yeah, brilliant stuff. Well, no, congratulations once again as well to yourself. Then, of course, that the race, it went down to the wire. Then, even with that penalty on the last corner, then of course we didn't know what was going to happen. But yeah, it was fantastic racing indeed. Then from yourself, Rocket, as well. So, what's your? I asked Luke, what's your aspirations as well then for this season? Then, what's the aim for Rocket League then in season 9 of Bronze?
The aim for this season is not spin as much.
Well, the first round is pretty good then. So you ticked off pretty much. Well done. Good stuff.
So far, so good.
Brilliant stuff indeed. Well, not spin so much then, and well, hopefully we'll see you back here for some more podiums as well then. But a fantastic start indeed then from both the Kicks Albert of Luke then in P1 then, and for Rocket Lee in the Williams in P2 then. I'm not sure if Dynamite Dan's joined us, to be fair, but
Nice one. Cheers, guys.
He hasn't joined us, but there we go then. All right, Rocket Lee has left us as well then, so we're going to tune it down then for this stream then. But thank you very much for joining us then for Bronze Season 9 Round 1 as well here. We'll be back in a week's time for some Chinese action as well for Bronze, but of course there's more China action then on Sunday for Gold then, and on Monday as well before Bronze for the Silver Stream, I should say. Ready then to see you very soon then. Thanks very much for joining us as well then, and we'll see you in a week's time for more Bronze action.